Well, students, in the previous class we have talked about the in situ conservation. Now in this class we will see the importance of in situ conservation. So firstly we need to know the importance of in situ conservation. Yeah, what are the importances of in situ conservation? Here mainly the in situ conservation, it is meant for species protection. Species protection. So what is this species protection? So in situ conservation, when we conserve the species within its natural habitat, it is possible to conserve, or it is possible for species protection, which means the production and preservation of rare species of plant and animals in a suitable habitats like sanctuaries is called species protection and preservation. We are protecting the species along with we are preserving the species, so that the protection and preservation of rare species of plant and animals in a suitable habitat like sanctuaries is called species protection and preservation. Like for example, rhinoceros. So rhinoceros, they are protected and preserved. They are protected and preserved in the area like as I said sanctuary. So these rhinoceros, the rhinoceros which were protected and preserved in the Kaziranga Wildlife Sanctuary in Assam. You know Kaziranga National Park, like that there is a Kaziranga Wildlife Sanctuary where the rhinoceros were protected and preserved. Similarly, the lions were protected in the Gir forest of Gujarat. So in Assam, the rhinoceros were protected and preserved. In Gujarat, in the Gir forest, the lions were protected and preserved. That is one advantage or importance of species, in situ conservation. And next one is assemblage protection. Assemblage protection. So here the production of group of different species of plants and animals by providing a place for nesting and feeding is called assemblage production. Here we are conserving the plant and animal species by providing a place for birds nesting and animal feeding is called as assemblage production. For example, you know that Rangantittu Bird Sanctuary, the migratory birds will be protected. So, for the Rangantittu Bird Sanctuary, the birds will be migrated from various areas. So, those migrated birds will be protected in Rangantittu Bird Sanctuary in Mysore. Similarly, Maratpur Bird Sanctuary in Rajasthan. And the third advantage or importance is that habitat protection. Habitat protection. So here conservation of large areas and with the entire ecosystem is called as habitat protection. So when we conserve the species within the natural habitat, we are conserving the species along with the large area with the entire ecosystem is called as habitat protection. So due to in situ conservation, the species are protected. We will be providing a place for nesting and feeding, and habitat is also protected. So these are few importances of in situ conservation. So now we will discuss about the next approach of conservation, that is ex situ conservation, or also called as off-site conservation. So ex situ conservation. So what do you mean by ex situ conservation? The conservation of species outside the natural habitat. So in situ means conserving species within the natural habitat, but ex situ refers to outside the natural habitat. The conservation of species outside the natural habitat is called as ex situ conservation. And here there are various methods of ex situ conservation like botanical gardens, zoos or zoological parks, arboreta, cryopreservation, and seed bank. So we'll talk about all these one by one. So firstly, botanical gardens. You may be heard about Lal Bagh Botanical Garden, Ooty Botanical Garden. Then what is actually a botanical garden? A botanical garden is the place where the living plant species were conserved. In these botanical gardens, the living plant species were conserved, and even the plants which are about to extinct, they are also conserved in these botanical gardens. So botanical garden is the place where the living plant species were conserved. As I said the example, the Lal Bagh Botanical Garden in Bangalore and Ooty Botanical Garden in Ooty. Then zoo or zoological park. So here in zoos, it is the place where the animal species were conserved in captivity. So here in captivity means with the human care, the animals were preserved in zoos or zoological park. Zoo is the place where animal species were conserved. Like for example, Sri Jayachamarajendra Wadiyar Zoological Park in Mysore. There are various examples. I am mentioning few examples which are there in Karnataka. Sri Jayachamarajendra Wadiyar National Park, Zoological Park in Mysore. That is about zoos and arboreta. So arboreta, it is similar to botanical garden, but here it is maintained or it is mainly meant for the woody plants. So in this arboreta, the woody plants are well conserved in this area. So this botanical garden includes all types of plant species, but when we say arboretum, it includes the woody plant species. Then cryopreservation. So cryopreservation is nothing but it is a place where conservation of a cell or whole tissue or semen or egg. You know what is a cell, tissue, semen, egg. So all these can be preserved in a liquid nitrogen. At minus 196 degrees Celsius. So this is very, very important. We are preserving all these structures or all these in liquid nitrogen at minus 196 degrees Celsius for indefinite period of time. We can keep them for an indefinite period of time for future use. For example, if any organism it is about to extinct, we can collect the cells, tissue, semen, eggs from that organism and we can keep it in liquid nitrogen at minus 196 degrees Celsius for indefinite period of time, and whenever we need to grow or we need to produce a new organism, at that time we can take out this one and it is possible to produce a new organism. That is called cryopreservation. It is the place where the cell, a tissue, semen, egg, it is preserved in liquid nitrogen at minus 196 degrees Celsius. Then what is a seed bank? It is the conservation of germplasm. Actually, if there are endangered species of plants, from that plant, the seeds are collected from the endangered species of plants and they are made and they are kept at dormant conditions at minus 20 degrees Celsius. See, when we keep the seeds at a dormant condition, they will remain in a dormant condition only for some time. Later, we can break that dormancy and it is possible to produce a new plant. So, whichever the endangered plant is there, from that endangered plant, the seeds are collected and they are kept at minus 20 degrees Celsius to make it dormant, so that in future, whenever we need to grow that plant, we can take out the seeds and we can break the dormancy. How to break the dormancy, everything you know. So likewise, the seeds will be preserved. That is called as ex situ conservation. And why all these are ex situ conservation? we are not conserving the species in their natural habitat. We have taken out of the natural habitat. Here botanical gardens, we are growing plants in some particular area, not in a natural habitat in a forest. And in zoo, we are taking out of the animals in some other place. Arboreta, again, woody plants, cryopreservation, the cell tissue, they will be kept in a laboratory. In the liquid nitrogen in the cells, we are keeping them in a laboratory. And seed bank also, here also we are preserving the seeds for future use. So these are the various methods of ex situ conservation. Then what are the importance or what are the functions of ex situ conservation? Functions of ex situ conservation. So this ex situ conservation, it provides the excellent research opportunity on biological diversity. It provides an excellent opportunity, excellent research opportunity for biological diversity or on biological diversity. See, whenever we need to do a research about a plant, so all the plants will be available in the botanical garden. So this botanical garden will provide the plant species which you need to research. Likewise, this ex situ conservation, it usually provides an excellent research opportunity. And even zoos, sometimes some animals will be taken for research purpose, but when they are in situ conservation, it is not possible to go in search of that animal in the forest. So here they are available so that it is possible to do the research work. And the next advantage is that the captive breeding, that is in captivity in zoo, what I am going to say, captive breeding in the sense the breeding which occurs in captivity are in zoos. So that captive breeding of animals and artificial propagation of plants, vegetative propagation in case of plants. So these methods will help to provide new organisms. See, if the organisms which are threatened are endangered, so those organisms will be preserved or conserved ex situ. And when we conserve those organisms ex situ, here we are providing the place for those organisms to flourish. So because of captive breeding of animals and the artificial propagation of plants, it is possible to restore those threatened species and we can introduce those threatened species again to the wild. So we have taken from the forest because the number is very less. So here they can flourish, they can reproduce. Later those organisms can be introduced again into the wild. Then again in ex situ it is possible for rapid multiplication and conservation of biodiversity. So here we are conserving the biodiversity and here rapid multiplication may occur. So these are certain advantages or functions of ex situ conservation. Now we will see the international efforts for biodiversity conservation. So these are the methods how to conserve the organisms in their natural habitat or outside the natural habitat. Everything we have discussed. Now we will see what are the international efforts. International efforts for biodiversity conservation. So here the historic convention on biodiversity conservation, there is a summit called as Earth Summit. Earth Summit, which is held in Rio de Janeiro in 1992. So there is a summit called as Earth Summit, you should remember the name. So I am talking about the historic convention of biodiversity conservation. So there is a Earth Summit which is held at Rio de Janeiro in 1992, which called all countries to take measures to conserve the biodiversity, for conservation of biodiversity and even to increase for the sustainable development. So this Earth Summit, it is mainly motivated or it is mainly called all nations to take measures for the conservation of biodiversity and the sustainable utilization of their benefits. So here its main motto is that to conserve the biodiversity and the sustainable utilization of the benefits. Whatever the benefits we can obtain from the biodiversity, so all those can be utilized properly along with the biodiversity conservation. Later, this summit followed by another summit called as World Summit. World Summit. So, World Summit, which is held in 2002 at Johannesburg in South Africa. And this World Summit, it is mainly on sustainable development. So the World Summit, which is held on sustainable development in 2002 at Johannesburg, South Africa. So here 190 countries. So 190 countries they have a commitment that 190 countries they have a commitment that to achieve by 2010. Within 2010 they asked to achieve that to reduce the rate of biodiversity loss. To reduce the biodiversity loss at regional and global and local levels. So the main motto is that to reduce the loss of biodiversity at global level, regional level and local level. So here 190 countries have been participated, and by the time of 2010 the biodiversity loss must be reduced at global, regional and local level. And do you know 22nd May it is celebrated as it is the day of International Day of Biological Diversity. 22nd May is the International Day of Biological Diversity, and the first week of October it is called as the Biodiversity Week, and 2010 it is the International Year of Biological Diversity. So these are some interesting and important points. 22nd May it is the International Day of Biological Diversity. The first week of October is called Week of Biodiversity, and 2010 it is regarded as the International Year of Biological Diversity. So here you should remember the summit, the year and the place. Again, World Summit, year is 2002 and Johannesburg, South Africa. Here it is mainly based on sustainable development, but Earth Summit, it is to conserve the biodiversity and to utilize the benefits obtained from the biodiversity. Here it is mainly based on the sustainable development, and this completes ex-situ conservation. And here we have seen why to conserve biodiversity and how to conserve biodiversity, and this completes the chapter biodiversity and conservation. So till now we have talked about different biodiversity and why to conserve, how to conserve. So this completes the chapter biodiversity and conservation. Now we will discuss few objectives. See question number 111. The one-horned rhinoceros is specific to which of the following sanctuary? Option A, Bhitarkanika. Option B, Bandipur. Option C, Kaziranga. Option D, Corbett Park. So the rhinoceros were usually preserved or conserved at Kaziranga Wildlife Sanctuary. So option C is correct. Next, 112. Rangantittu Sanctuary, Mysore is known for population of option A, bison, option B, tiger, option C, goats, option D, birds. It is for birds. Rangantittu Bird Sanctuary. So option D, birds. Next, lions are found in option A, Western Ghats, option B, Corbett National Park, option C, Forest of Madhya Pradesh, option D, Gir Forest. So lions are usually found in the Gir Forest of Gujarat. Option D. Next question, Siberian crane is a regular visitor of bird sanctuary. Option A, Rangantittu, Karnataka, Option D, Bharatpur, Rajasthan. Option C, Vedant Tamil Nadu. Option D, Lal Bagh, Karnataka. So Siberian crane, it is a regular visitor of bird sanctuary, Bharatpur. So Bharatpur at Rajasthan. So these are few objective questions related to the class, and now this completes the chapter biodiversity and conservation.